shed more light, at least one person. It's my appreciation for your presence, particularly given the current circumstances that have led to this gathering. We acknowledge the concern and frustration that has led to this action, and we are committed as a committee to listen and find solution. The committees of labor and tertiary institutions assure you that we will take the issue raised by ASUU seriously, because we recognize the critical role that our universities play in shaping the future of our nation. And we are committed by ensuring that they receive the support they need to thrive. The purpose of today's meeting is to engage in constructive dialogue. By listening to your concern and explore possible solutions, we believe that the meeting provides an opportunity for us to have an open and honest discussion about the issue affecting our tertiary institution, and to work together to find solutions that are mutually beneficial. We are committed to working with you to address these issues. By listening to your concern and understand your perspective, to find solutions that will benefit our universities and the entire academic community. To build a stronger and more vibrant tertiary education system that benefit our institution and the nation. We are aware that the warning strike action embarked upon by ASUU is not a decision that was taken lightly. We understand that it is a reflection of the deep-seated frustration and concern that many of our academic staffs have about the state of our tertiary institution. These issues are complex and multi-affected. These include funding for the tertiary education. We need to discuss the funding challenges facing our tertiary institution and explore possible solutions. Staff welfare. We need to address the welfare concern of our academic staff, including issues related to salary, benefit, and working conditions. Infrastructure development. We need to discuss the state of our university infrastructure and explore ways to improve it. Quality of education. We need to work together to ensure that our tertiary institutions provide high quality education that prepares our students for the challenges of the 21st century. Let me assure you that we share your commitment to ensure that our universities are vibrant, dynamic, and capable of producing the next generation of leaders and innovators. I want to acknowledge the efforts that ASUU has made over the years to improve the quality of education in Nigeria. We recognize the critical role that your union plays in advocating for the right and welfare of academic staff, and we appreciate contributions that you make to the development of our nation. As we engage in this discussion, I want to encourage us all to approach the conversation with open mind and a willingness to listen. Let us work together to identify areas of agreement and disagreement. Let us strive to find common ground. We will ensure you that our discussions are productive and meaningful, that we report back to the Senate plenary. Once again, I want to welcome you. And before we go forward, you have to know that all of us will be accountable hereafter before God. Why we are here as leaders of the Senate, which is jointly agreed by the Senate President, we owe a duty as a responsive and dedicated leaders who are voted from different parts of this country, and you as ASUU, who have a responsibility to manage the activities of the federal universities, it is a responsibility for you that our children and their parents are left with a shocking story of this your warning strike. That is why we in the Senate, we are determined to look at this critical situation for the landmark of the future, because we have to use our intellectual power to think through situations, to try and predict the probable outcome. If you look at the situation in Nigeria, it has been a long issue and a prolonged issue of ASUU strike in this country, which we need to address it holistically, and it will become a thing of the past. So we want you to understand that we are all here to be accountable hereafter, and this accountability is of significant importance, not on our selfish or myopic thinking based on a fair play. We are here to assure you that we are in between you and the executives. So we want to make sure that we compel them based on the holistic approach of your problem. And at the same time, you should not take it for granted, because this lingering ASUU strike is supposed to be a thing of the past, because it's very unfortunate. The world is watching us. The international academic calendars of all the universities in other countries of the world are not affected, but Nigeria is always facing the challenges of ASUU strike, and we have to come with a holistic and a well-articulated program so that we can ensure that we look at the funding and ensure that this funding, because you cannot teach, your stomach is empty or your family are in the hospital, you cannot concentrate. So we are very determined to make sure that all these issues are looked with a sense of humility and sense of responsibility. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, we are here today to face these challenges with all sense of humility and all sense of fair play. And we want to make sure as 10th Senate, we are in touch with the President of the Senate and the Deputy Senate President, who advise that we should call you to engage you as a matter of holistic and honest approach. So you should have fear of God, because you have to look backward. How many of the presidents of Nigeria that are no more in existence, they are now rest in peace? And how many ASUU presidents and members of the academic staff union, and also how many senators are now rest in peace? So we have to have holistic approach, because we have no other country than Nigeria, and we have to work together with you to move this country forward. And we have to make sure that the yet unborn generation have a holistic approach on this our deliberation today. And this our deliberation today is a fair play, and we are not in support of any academic strike. We are not in support of any threat by the executives. We are here who are elected to oversight you and ensure that you work effectively and efficiently. Thank you very much, and God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria. And before we proceed, two of our colleagues has just come and they need to introduce themselves. Thank you very much.
The President invited both of us. We sat and discussed, as I said by him. The Senate has a very huge concern for the warning strike given by ASUU. And my brother here is a professor, is your colleague. All of us are so concerned about this issue and the possibility of putting it to an end. The National Assembly, you know, within our period of our period of assumption into office, we were also having the minimum wage issue, and I think we did all we could to ensure that we come to an agreeable minimum wage for the civil servants. And I believe that we also have that mind about the ASUU, whose issue has been so long. We wish that probably this administration should be able to come to a consolidated and actual resolution on the issue of ASUU. We, just as said by him, as legislators, we could be mediators between the two, you and the executive. And this will also add value to us, or reasoning for us, when it comes to appropriation. When budgets are brought, we should be able to know where to support, to ensure that probably budgetary and appropriations are met for probably the resolution that we met. I also join him in thanking you for coming on time, and we have kept you for some few hours, change of venue and so on and so forth. So with us here, the chairman, Tedford, is chairing the Senate Committee on Labor and Productivity, will co-chair, and most of us are members of Tedford Committee. Most of them are here, members of the Tedford Committee and members of the Senate Committee on Labor and Productivity. So let's open up. Let us be patriotic. Let us come to a resolution. May God Almighty be with us. Thank you so much.
Here, you decided to reschedule to today. That is also a sign that you are interested in this matter and that it concerns you. We thank you very much. We are currently on a 2-week warning strike. Unfortunately, the journey that led us to where we are today did not start with this strike. It started from 2011-12, when our agreement of 2009 was supposed to be renegotiated. It was never done. About 8 years ago, after a series of threats and strike, government set up a committee, the Babalakin Committee, that I'm sure most of you are aware of. We went through Babalakin, SAN, Professor Munzali Jibril, Professor Nimi Briggs of blessed memory, and now Alhaji Ali Ahmed. We did not achieve anything for 8 years that we were engaging with government. The current committee, led by Alhaji Ali Ahmed, was set up by this government. It was this government that set up the Alhaji Ali Ahmed Committee. August of 2024. We met with them and we had a draft agreement. It was submitted to government, thank you, sir. It was submitted to government in December 2024. That document that was submitted in December 2024 is one that was unattended to until we embarked on this action, before government decided to take or begin to show signs that there was a document before them. But we had finished with the Alhaji Ali Ahmed Committee since December of last year. Sir, the key issues in the agreement or draft agreement between us and Alhaji Ali Ahmed, some of them you've talked about them. There are issues of funding, sustainable funding for tertiary education, universities in this country. There are issues of our conditions of service. There are also issues, about revitalization, which is tied to the funding of public universities. There are issues about autonomy and academic freedom in Nigerian universities, and other issues that concern governance of the institutions. When we met with Alhaji Ayale Ahmed the very first day, he told us that there were other issues that he felt government needed to attend to that were easy to address, and that addressing those issues will build confidence between us and government, so that when we go to the key issue, which was the 2009 agreement, it will be easy because government would have shown faith in addressing the issues. What are those other issues? There are issues about salary increase, 25-35% salary increase. I'm sure Senator Diketplan, as chairman of the Labour Committee, would be very familiar with this issue of 25-35%. We are being owed 12 months of that increase. There's also the issue of 3.5 months salaries that were withheld from our last strike action. Why these 3.5 months, distinguished senators, is very important is because, yes, we were on strike when these salaries were withheld, but we returned to work, completed our work. There is nothing that we needed to do when we were on strike that is still undone. And we think that when somebody does his job, he should be paid. There are legal issues which you may be aware of because we went to court. But the court judgment, I'm sure if you get someone to explain some of the issues around the court judgment, will tell you that what the judgment said was that government was at liberty to pay us or not. And it was the current president that had mediated with the past government to get us to pay. When it didn't work with the last administration, when he came, he paid 4 months. We still have 3.5 months outstanding. Alhaji Ayale Ahmed also wanted to address the issue of third-party deductions from our pension, check-off dues for our union, collections from our cooperatives that were not remitted to us by IPPIS when we were on the IPPIS platform. There was also the issue of promotion arrears that spanned through the last 4 years that had not been paid by government. Alhaji Ayale Ahmed also said he was going to do his best to ensure that these issues were resolved to build confidence. As we are seated before you this morning, those issues are yet to be resolved. However, we want to put it on record that at the outset of our disagreement with government, we were worried about the proliferation of universities by both the state and the federal government. This government of Tinubu has responded to that, and we thank him because the federal government has placed a moratorium on the establishment of universities for at least 7 years. It is a commendable step, and we appreciate the fact that government has taken that action. There is also the issue of earned academic allowances. The earned academic allowances are allowances that are in arrears that government was supposed to pay us for work done too. This government has released and has paid 50 billion naira of the earned academic allowance. We appreciate the fact that government has made that release. So, while it is not completely an issue of government not attending to anything at all, these few items that I've listed have been addressed by government, and we appreciate it. However, distinguished senators, the issue of the 2009 agreement is very central to the growth and development of our universities. Unless the 2009 agreement is concluded, and we have actually concluded it in the committee with Alhaji Ayale Ahmed, it is government's response to it that is still a problem. By the way, we met with the Alhaji Ayale Ahmed committee yesterday to tie up this issue of agreement. Why is it important for the Senate to pay attention to funding? Because funding is at the core of everything. Whether it is infrastructure that the chairman of this committee has talked about, or our remuneration, or to provide money for research and other things that are central to what we do in the university, funding is crucial. Is government funding universities adequately? I think the answer is clear. They are not. There is need for government to do more to fund our institutions. Is it important for government to increase funding to address our welfare? Yes, it is very important, very critical. In Africa today, the highest paid lecturers are from South Africa and Uganda. They earn about 6 million naira every month. Our salary is known to everybody in this country. We earn less than 500,000 naira. 500,000 naira in Nigeria, while our colleagues in Uganda and South Africa earn about 6 million naira. The least besides us in Africa is Zimbabwe. Ghana, here next to us, the least paid lecturer in Ghana, professor in Ghana, is about 1.5 million naira. While in Zimbabwe, it's about 550, about 800,000 naira. Let me not mention it in dollars. Why is it important for us to put these salaries in perspective? Universities are universal. We should attract the best into our system. We should attract researchers. We should attract students because of the quality of our education. How on earth would a South African, and I'm not going outside Africa, distinguished senators, how on earth would a South African come to the University of Ibadan or Lagos or BUK or Sokoto to earn 500,000 naira when he's earning 6 million naira in Uganda? Why should I leave Ghana, just across the road here, and come to earn what I'm earning in Nigeria when I am receiving 3 times or more in Ghana? Even Nigerians that are in those countries, their patriotic spirit will be tested to leave that when they have bills to pay, they have families to cater for, to come back home to contribute in the system. And so our salary is the least and the worst in Africa, and it is incapable of attracting any scholar anywhere around the world. Like I said, we have cycled and narrow down on Africa, West Africa, and Africa. We're not talking about what our colleagues earn in the UK or US or Germany or Dubai or anywhere else. It is just Africa. Is it too much to pay Nigerian academics or Nigerian staff in Nigerian universities? Is it too much to pay us something of even the West African average to produce the best in Nigeria and the world? Is it too much to pay us living wages of even the West Africans' average to improve our universities? They say our students do very well when they go outside the country. Imagine we are even more motivated than we are today. Imagine what our students will do when they leave this country, or even what we will do in this country. Sir, if you help us as Senate to improve funding to universities, you will see what our researchers will produce. We challenge the Committee on Tertiary Education and indeed the entire Senate to try us and see. Just try us and see. Push government to increase funding to universities and see whether there will be strikes in this country. Push government to improve funding in Nigerian universities and see whether our students and our universities, our ranking will not, surpass all these African countries, despite our interest to remain in this country. And here on this table, not that we're trying to make any comparison or anything, we have a professor of nuclear physics. Here, we have a professor of nuclear physics. Sirs, distinguished senators, do we know how much it will cost to produce a research that will be published internationally in a nuclear physics journal? How much? Because he cannot write papers about prevalence and incidence when his colleagues are writing about, very deep research. And all this require money. Any research that will move this country forward, I tell you, will surpass your regime, will surpass your time in the Senate. Prof, you know what I'm talking about very well. Because research that is meaningful, that is innovative, that is creative, will surpass the lifetime of 2 administrations. But funding is required for that to happen. So on the issue of funding, that is where we are. I've already commended government for what they have done, and we truly do appreciate it. Revitalization of Nigerian public universities. Government has released so far 50 billion naira. That 50 billion naira is still lying with the Ministry of Education after teams have gone out. The reason why the money is there is because the Minister of Education, the Ministry of Education, wants to tweak how the money will be disbursed to include polytechnics and colleges of education. With all due respect to our colleagues in colleges of education and polytechnics, you, the legislator, you have already decided by your appropriation what that money is meant for. We are insisting as ASUU that what you approve that money for is what it should be used for. You have also approved money for polytechnics and colleges of education. There is no basis to bring them in now when they have their own appropriation. And so because we have insisted that that be done, that is probably why they have not disbursed the money. But we think that they should go ahead and disburse the money and let our colleagues also wait for their own when it comes. If government releases, they should benefit from it. Lastly, thank you, sir. Distinguished Senator, the National Assembly has passed a 150 billion naira appropriation for universities. In our discussions with the federal government through the Ministry of Education, the government has told us that they cannot release the 150 billion at a go. And we understand. So they have agreed to release 50 billion naira in 3 installments. That will make the 150 billion. The first tranche of 50 billion has been released and it is currently with the Ministry of Education. I was just explaining why the money has not reached universities yet. And we're saying one of the reasons is because the Ministry of Education, in their own wisdom, want to spread the money to universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. And ASUU is saying, this committee, this Senate has approved an appropriation, and that money is for universities. There would be a separate money we believe that has been approved for colleges of education and polytechnics. So why don't you just follow what the appropriation is and release the money? That is why that money has not been released. And we hope that after this meeting, you will urge the Ministry of Education to go ahead and act on what you have approved as appropriation from this House. Lastly, distinguished senators, we are worried about the efforts by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, by Sanusi Muwike, to take the land, part of the land of the University of Abuja. This call has become necessary because despite several calls and releases by our union, our branch in Uni Abuja, for him to hold that process, it is clear that the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory is determined to go ahead to take the land of University of Abuja. The University of Abuja land, as we know, is about 10,000 hectares or so. University of Ibadan has 13,000. University of Ilorin has about 11,000. ABU is like a whole country on itself. Even the Port Harcourt Uniport, where he was governor, how much land do they have? Why the interest in the land of University of Abuja? It is because of this funding that we are talking about. If government was funding universities adequately, there would be no land in University of Abuja. Take a drive into the University of Abuja staff quarters. Anytime you are passing that way, distinguished senators, just drive into the staff quarters and see when any of you would want to live in that quarters. Nobody would want to. There is need for that land, whether it is for agricultural purposes, research purposes, accommodation. the university would use that land and request for more from the Honorable Minister of the FCT. Why would he want to take that land away from them now? So we want to appeal through you, through this Senate, to appeal to the minister to let the University of Abuja be. Let him rest that case. We need that land. We're going to use it once funds are available for the university. And we know that the Senate has the capacity to look at this funding issue, and once funding improves, University of Abuja would have no area left for anybody to use. In fact, what they have will not be adequate for them to use. Having said that, we want to thank you very much for listening to us. We want to put it on record that progress is currently being made with the Yahya Ali Ahmed Committee. We are not satisfied with the terms that they have offered to us, but we are continuing with the discussions. And we believe that away from the cameras, we can tell distinguished senators our concerns with the offer currently being made by the Alhaji Yahya Ali Ahmed Committee, and seek your understanding, your support, your help to ensure that something is done more than what Alhaji Yahya Ali Ahmed has given to us. We know that his committee is limited in what they can offer, but if with your voice government can listen, we can get this matter resolved and we will cross the line in no time. We have maintained that if the concern of the Senate is that this strike be suspended or be lifted, it can be done within 24 hours if you intervene. I mean, we can agree. We can't suspend within 24 hours because we need to follow our procedures. But the matter can be resolved between us and government within 24 hours, and we can set machinery in motion to speak to our members across the country, to call them and tell them what you have done so that we can move on. We don't want our children to stay at home. We don't want parents to lose sleep over this strike. We want to get it over with. But it does not depend on us alone. It also depends on what government can offer so that we can put this thing behind us and get back to work. Thank you for your time. The chairman has already said you don't have much time, but we thank you that you...
Just a way of rounding up. We've been here with the ASUU people, the executives, and we understand their grievances and the fact that they have made a lot of progress with negotiation with government. We are also interested in moving the negotiation forward and having our children back to school. Where they still have some disagreement, they told us, like they have agreed to increase the allowance to 35%, which they still felt they are not comfortable with, that it should go up a bit. And we spoke to them so that we can reach an agreement. Also, they talk about taxing some of their allowances, like books allowance, conference allowance, which we felt, journals allowance, which we felt, no, that shouldn't be. If you tax those allowances, it means that wouldn't be enough for them to meet the needs that those allowances are meant for. So we are going to at least talk to government about stopping that and about having their allowance, their salaries improve upward. We have appealed to them that we are going to ensure that at least there's a bit of an increase from the 35% that has been offered to them. But majorly we are asking them, we cannot continue to use strike as a means of negotiation. We have to find other means, because having our children at home is always a problem for the nation. So that is a cap of what we have done today.
The President invited both of us. We sat and discussed, as I said by him. The Senate has a very huge concern for the warning strike given by ASUU. And my brother here is a professor, is your colleague. All of us are so concerned about this issue and the possibility of putting it to an end. The National Assembly, you know, within our period of assumption into office, we were also having the minimum wage issue, and I think we did all we could to ensure that we come to an agreeable minimum wage for the civil servants. And I believe that we also have that mind about the ASUU, whose issue has been so long. We wish that probably this administration should be able to come to a consolidated and actual resolution on the issue of ASUU. We, just as said by him, as legislators, we could be mediators between the two, you and the executive. And this will also add value to us, or reasoning for us, when it comes to appropriation. When budgets are brought, we should be able to know where to support, to ensure that probably budgetary and appropriations are met for probably the resolution that we met. I also join him in thanking you for coming on time, and we have kept you for some few hours, change of venue and so on and so forth. So with us here, the chairman Tedfon is chairing the Senate Committee on Labor and Productivity, will co-chair, and most of us are members of Tedfon Committee. Most of them are here, members of the Tedfon Committee and members of the Senate Committee on Labor and Productivity. So let's open up, let us be patriotic, let us come to a resolution. May God Almighty be with us. Thank you so much.
And like the last speaker mentioned, we want to appeal to you in the interest of our students and of Nigeria to go back to classes immediately while negotiation continues. Having said that, the welfare of Nigerian lecturers is abysmally low. It's too bad. There are some of your colleagues that migrated outside the country, and within a year or two, they come back here and start building houses. I know many of them. They are not better than you. That you have remained here is because you are patriotic. But we share in your blames, in your pains. Okay, and I want to apportion blame to the federal government. Agreement is agreement, as I've always been said. They should be able to live up to expectations whenever they go into any form of agreement, especially with ASUU. This is the most critical sector of Nigeria. Education is the bedrock of any society. We want to appeal to the federal government to ensure that at least what we call living wages should be paid to the lecturers. We are talking of living wages. We are not talking of wages that will make you live extravagant lives. We are talking of living wages. It's very important. You have families, okay, and you need to take care of them. Otherwise, you shouldn't start blaming you. Why did you choose this profession? Why did you choose this profession? And like I said, it's because you are patriotic. The issue of brain drain in Nigeria is mainly attributable to this factor. And we can't afford that. The best doctors, most of the best doctors outside this country are from Nigeria. When we go out there, okay, when we go out there for treatment, we end up meeting Nigerians. At times I ask myself, why did I even come here? These are Nigerians, trained in Nigeria, but excelling here. It's because of the poor remuneration. It is painful, and like I said over and over, I in particular share in your pains. Having said that, the Joint Chairman, I want to appeal to you. I want to appeal to you, the Joint Chairman, please, can I have your attention, please? The Joint Chairman, you have a lot of jobs to do. You need to come up with a bill on how to enhance the remunerations of the Nigerian lecturers. You need to come up with a bill. You also need to ensure that whatever agreements are outstanding should be adhered to. Then with respect to the Wike saga, I think we also need to get involved. The Senate needs to get involved. That land has been acquired. The non-installment to be used over a year or two period is a long-term project. And we need to draw that to his attention. And on that note, I want you to please work with the chairman of the Senate Committee on FCT. He has to get involved. And the senator representing FCT, she has said it over and over. Okay? But I think she has not been given listening attention. She has not been given the attention she deserves in that area. She has been saying it, but nobody cares to listen. We are talking of long-term investment. Universities are long-term investments. Okay? And like you said, we can use it for agricultural purposes, we can use it for all forms of research. And knowing fully well that the student population will continue to increase, and the need for lecturers, accommodation, and also will continue to increase. So please, we'll tell Wike, or the Honorable Minister for FCT, that he should please put a halt to that move. We are not in support. I am not in support. I thank you.
Places, and I'm aware that part of the land that was acquired then are just being used now. They are just extending towards Ajibo side. It is because the lands were not taken away from them. If the land was taken away, there would not be anywhere to do research and things. On the issue of funding, yes, there is need for more funding to do a lot of things. And your other issues, I want to urge the committee and the chairman that there is need for us to invite the personalities that are involved and the agencies, so that we'll be able to hear also from them, so that we can find a lasting solution to this matter. So that's my submission, sir.
So we are very well aware of all of this. One thing I will say again is that we will appeal to you about this strike thing. This conversation is going to continue. And as you can see, we are very serious and will engage the respective persons in this regard. I have a friend who has two children. One is in a private university. It's in our own regular universities, federal-owned university. And the one in the federal university is already complaining why his sibling in Benson outside university is in school. This is not good for our economy. It's not good for our growth. And we completely agree with you that the welfare of our lecturers is really abysmal. It's nothing to write home about. And I personally believe that you're not asking for too much. And I'm also very surprised that when agreements are reached, these agreements are not followed through. I'm going to wonder why back and forth with agreements and with the issues of strikes and what have you. I think this matter of strikes will be reduced. But I will still appeal to you, for the sake of our nation, for the sake of our children, to please help us and help our children to make sure that we can at some point have a very lasting solutions to this. If you can help us and try to temper this strike thing and give us time to intervene, I believe that we will be able to at least bring some solutions that will be acceptable by all the parties. This is what I really have to say, and I thank you all for coming.
Chairman Custom.
The presentation of ASUU, I think they have made their position quite clear. Their explanation for me is very enlightening, and the issues are not beyond issues that can be resolved. And it's about having an open mind and constructively interrogating each of the elements. For example, ASUU believes that if you give me allowance to buy a book, you don't collect tax from that book. If you collect the tax, then what is left will not be enough for me to buy the book. If the book is 100 naira and you collect tax of 50% from the 100 naira, I now have 75 naira. So how do I buy a book that was estimated to be 100 naira? Again, I believe with good faith, this can be resolved. And the same logic applies to every other specific allowances that is tied to the nature of academic work. And we also recognize at this level, I will report to our leadership in the National Assembly, that in the end, the ultimate objective of Nigeria must be to revise not external brain drain, but to retain the best brains in our academic institutions. So that it should not be said that if you make the first class, you are a tough liar rather than going to academic as it used to be when I was growing up. Now you want to go to oil industry, you want to go to banking, you want to go to customs, you want to go to wherever you think the easy money is. And if the best brains are not in the university, then there is no hope in a world that is increasingly knowledge-driven, knowledge-based, and increasingly digitalized. And we in the Senate keep talking about technology. It will not come from heaven. It has to come from men and women who are in our universities and other tertiary institutions. So I think for me, it's a matter for Nigeria to decide how it wants to go. And we in the Senate, as ably captured by Karimi, we are clear that these issues can be resolved. Now, the issue of allowances, increase in salary. I'm also encouraged that from the presentation of the spokesperson of our comrade in ASUU, they've got it at the 5% offer, which they believe that it's not enough. Nothing can be enough, but they believe that a top-up can make a difference. And I know that in this business, rigidity doesn't help. So if ASUU is willing, as they have indicated to us, that some top-up might just do the trick, we are hopeful that talking to the executive to also moderate that give and take, will find an acceptable middle course. But there is no permanent agreement in these matters because the environment is dynamic, prices are changing, no one element can be static. If prices are rising and wages are stagnant, people will become poorer and they will not remain in academics. So I think it's a matter of Nigerian national interest that these issues are discussed, not in terms of they and us, in terms of us as a people. What do we want in our academics? I believe that under the leadership of our chairman, co-chair, chairman of Labour, chairman of TED Fund, we've had what I believe is a very fruitful and robust conversation, and I'm very hopeful that we can get ultimately to what ASUU desire, which is not a conflict, with Nigerian national interest. But like they said, having made your point, as ASUU, we also believe, because after all, they call it a warning strike. For me, 1 day warning is enough. Once the warning has sunk down, you know we have the capacity to withdraw, you have made your point. And therefore, returning back to school, returning back to classes, while these negotiations are going on, I think for me it would be nice, because parents are worried. And the irony, however, is that, let's face it, many of us are able to send our children outside. Also our comrades, and the children who are trapped are children of the poor, the children of lower comrades. And so I think with all of this in mind, they will do some reflection. But the important thing is that to go back to work is not to say that the issue is closed. It is just to give a more conducive environment for further conversation to take place. But these issues are not beyond solution. And we will report to our principals in the Senate. You know, we are a subcommittee. We have Ogadem. We will explain to them our feeling, our take from this meeting, and we are convinced that together with the executive, ASUU and government will find a middle course to deal with the crisis of compensation. This is my take from this meeting, and I'm very grateful that even ASUU's approach, I was thinking they are going to be very, but I found them quite, one point by point and explaining in a manner that anybody can understand. So we made some progress, and we are all unanimous that we want to appeal to ASUU why this conversation is on, and that is not to say they should be on endlessly. We can give ourselves limited time frame within which these other issues can be resolved satisfactorily. But before then, it would be nice if our children of the poor, I emphasize children of the poor, because the not so poor, their children are not here, so that they can be back to school and we have an environment to continue with the conversation. But I'm grateful to ASUU for their general disposition and to our Senate leadership for the concern that they have shown.
Thank you very much. And on our resolution, the Senate is not happy that the agreement by the government to ASUU has not been fulfilled. The Senate agreed to convey the government agencies and ASUU, most especially the Ministry of Education and NUC, for a negotiating as soon as possible so that we can resolve this lingering problem. Senate agrees to interface with the Minister of FCT to ensure universities Abuja land which is not taken from them. Also, other needs will be studied and appropriate steps will be taken to ensure amicable resolution, and we want the leadership of ASUU to write all the issues they raise in our discussion so that we can pass the Ministry of Education together with them by Tuesday or Wednesday to ensure that our children are back to school, and also to ensure that the government look into the immediate and the long-term measures to be taken to resolve most of the lingering situations in the tertiary institution. This is our resolution, and we want to adjourn this meeting Senate. So, Chair.
Chairman, after exhausting all the issues, I want to move that we adjourn this meeting Senate.
Later. Honorable, distinguished. Okay, thank you very much. After exhausting all the issues discussed, we call this meeting Senate.
Let's make it around 1 or 3.
3, yes. 3, because I want to go and pray now.
Come back.
Yes. 3.
Don't phone me when you're ready.
I was having a credible information. 2 billion was raised for our money. So we want to push into this.
Oh no.
Senator, sir.
Sir?
He said you're a senator.
Come, make I give you. Chairman. Okay, sir.
Okay.
What that is Kesalabo? Come, make I give you. Wait, I come, make I come. May I give you the other matter here. Come on there. Wait, don't worry. I did report now. Okay, this is the